Hey everybody, Andy Duffey here, pastor Antioch Church of the Brethren. I'm here with Pastor Bilbo. Bilbo, look over here, say hi. Say, hey everybody, I'm Pastor Bilbo. Yeah, there you go. Excellent, excellent. So I'm here continuing our daily devotionals. We're talking about Jesus last week, working our way toward the cross. We've been through the Last Supper. Jesus has been arrested. On Sunday we talked about his trial before the Sanhedrin, the Jewish religious high council. And yesterday we talked about Peter's three-time denial that he knew who Jesus was. And today we're moving on to really another disciple failure story. This one is quite a bit more depressing, morbid perhaps. I was surprised by a few things as I was reading through this. So check out the story of Judas from Matthew 27. It says, early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. So they bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate the governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders. I have sinned, he said, for I have betrayed innocent blood. What is that to us? They replied. That's your responsibility. So Judas threw the money into the temple and left. Then he went away and hanged himself. The chief priests picked up the coins and said, it is against the law to put this into the treasury since it is blood money. So they decided to use the money to buy the potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. That is why it has been called the field of blood to this day. Then what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled. They took the 30 pieces of silver, the price set on him by the people of Israel, and they used them to buy the potter's field, as the Lord commanded me. What I think is so interesting about this passage is it only appears in one gospel. I thought this was another basic thing, but unlike Peter's denial, which shows up in all four gospels very, very similarly, Judas' act of suicide only appears in Matthew. In Mark and Luke and John, the last time we see Judas is at the arrest, right? The mob comes up to arrest Jesus. Judas kisses him on the cheek so that they'll know who it is, and then he just disappears from the story. We don't know what happened. Excuse me. It's allergy season, isn't it? So, isn't it interesting that it's important to Matthew that we have a little bit of poetic justice, we might say, for Judas? I will say that the gospel writer Luke does include it in the book of Acts, the Acts of the Apostles, that follows up the Gospel of Luke, same author. There's a passing reference in the very first chapter about Judas and his death, but it's an accident rather than a suicide, and it's a lot more graphic. You can read the first chapter of Acts if you want to hear that. I won't read that for you right now. I don't think the suicide of Judas is something to celebrate. I don't think it's about God's vengeful, punishment, right? This is still in the middle of Jesus's trials of the last week of Good Friday. Jesus is on his way to Pilate, right? He's in the middle of it all. That's where we get this. It follows up on Peter's denials. I think Matthew sets up Judas's suicide as just another part of the tragedy. Judas made he did a terrible thing. But suicide is tragic no matter who's involved. Death is always tragic. Even if there is a sense of poetic justice to it, it's never the ideal. I don't think God is pleased. We know that Judas had a degree of remorse, of guilt. It says that in Matthew. He knows that he has betrayed innocent blood. And he goes to the religious leaders, and they act like they had nothing to do with it. What's that to us? That's your responsibility. Well, they had something to do with it too, right? But they make it seem like he's alone. I hope that at this time of isolation, people aren't feeling alone, and that people know that there are good leaders, good friends, people to turn to if you need to talk, or if you're going through something. If you feel like you might be depressed, even if you're just not sure, um, talk to somebody, text somebody, message, call if you don't like using the phone. There's good people out there. And the first way to get out of a pit that you're in is to admit, I'm in a pit, to somebody, and see where it goes. So consider that as you go about your day. Enjoy the beauty. It'll get colder in here a little bit. Bilbo, do you have anything else you want to share about Judas? Nope. He is just happy laying down. All right. Y'all have a good one. Bye.